I've got a thing or two to say to you. I've got a thing or two to say to you. Like the Hello, my name is Robert Pembroke. I thought I'd offer you today a series of jokes that relate to recent events and indeed the Ukraine conflict. And gosh, it's windy, isn't it? I'm in Tuscany today. Just off the coast is Elba Island. And it leads me to think about the Albanese joke, the Albanese surname joke, the Napoleon Bonaparte surname joke, and I think I'll join it all together, or try to concatenate it with the why did the chicken cross the road joke, because it is kind of relevant to the story in the joke. Okay, so the Albanese joke, I just worked out the Albanese joke actually. It's a play on the island of Elba, just off the coast of Tuscany, where Napoleon Bonaparte, the famous Emperor Napoleon of the Napoleonic Wars and the defeat at Waterloo, spent his final days after that defeat against the Russians. I presume that's why the Prime Minister Albanese, Anthony Albanese, claimed to have gone to a conference, or was going to a conference with NATO delegates in Europe, and then redacted the itinerary for I don't know what purpose. But it's really interesting about Mr. Albanese because he coloured his hair auburn and went to Auburn recently in Sydney. And it kind of sounds like Albanese, yeah? A bit like Albany, yeah? He never went to Albany though, did he? It's a bit far away. But he went to Auburn because his hair's coloured auburn. And of course there is the, as I said, there's the Auburn railway station too that was on the news, wasn't it? Yeah, rather interesting, eh? But yeah, he didn't go to that NATO conference and doesn't plan to. So that's the end of the submarine joke, yeah. And you'll find out why. Okay, so I presume that there are missing people and matter out of place in NATO delegations as well, and that's why Mr. Albanese was supposed to show up to see Minister Blinken, who's offered this shroud of concealment to blind enough people to what is not occurring. It's very much this yes minister stuff. You know, it's an absence. They're going to discuss the absence, what's not happening. But they won't be now. So that's in the submarine. The matter of interest to me, because of that strange non-meeting, relates to the former Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, the Napoleon Bonaparte joke. Napoleon, let me see, it kind of relates to a French term, Alba, for Alba Island, and Alba ici. You know, it's Alba, yeah, that's kind of like French for saying, oh, there's Alba, or something, is this Alba, yeah? Depends how you say it. Alba ici, il gioco del mondo, Count Blanc, was that he was castrated, Napoleon Bonaparte, after the defeat at Waterloo, and went to the island of Elba, which is located off the coast of Tuscany, where he recovered from castration. He was forcibly castrated after the battle at Waterloo, because he lost it, yeah? Not before it. He wasn't castrated in childhood. He was castrated as a grown man. It's probably far more painful for that to happen. They castrated him because of a belief about his phallic surname and the inability of him not to divulge military strategy to his mistresses. He used to talk to them and tell them what was happening. It was thought that the females, these rather promiscuous and unbalanced females he made love with, informed on him to the enemy and prevented the attacks being in favour of the French infantry. So he kind of told them what was happening in the bed, and it led them to go down the road and tell the enemy, where they got, trinkets or something for it. So these women, they were known as the pig's trotters, because they would be like a pig in mud, whispering sweet nothings to their sex partners about this or that, and then they would, when they thought they had enough information, they would run off to the enemy to exchange information for money. Often you'll hear in World War II this statement on the English Channel about loose lips sink ships. You shouldn't tell anything. And I'll get to that too, because it's really interesting, that joke as well. So they castrated him because they wanted to try and prevent him from having sex or communicating the nature of warfare during the process. It was thought that if he was castrated, he might later regain a foothold in Parisian society as a great emperor once more, and lead his French infantry to victory and realise the ambitions of post-revolutionary France. All they had to do was keep Napoleon from saying anything to female partners. Castration, they thought, was the answer. They made him a eunuch and a muse for the administrators until he recovered and might be established once more as emperor and resume the nature of warfare. At the time, it was considered unlawful not to conduct war. War was one's main imperative in life. It was one's motive for existence, Okay, but they didn't need to do that, really. They didn't need to castrate him, and I'll tell you why, because this relates to the why did the chicken cross the road joke. You see, if you don't tell anybody about someone else, about something, they will tell them inadvertently anyway, because part of your brain cannot help but project the nature of what you are doing. It doesn't matter if you try to conceal your nature by dressing like, say, Bozo the Clown or, prosthetics, whatever. It just doesn't matter. It's like the English grammar exercise of fill the spaces, or you'll kind of figure it out, won't you, the answer? And it's a bit like, you ever play pick-up sticks where you get a whole heap of these cocktail sticks and you drop them on the table and they organise into a pattern, and after a while you start to see the same pattern, don't you? Even though it's all in disarray and disorder, you kind of work out an order in the disorder, And that's what people do usually. That's how they figure things out. So even if what you, say, recorded in a YouTube video occurred, I don't know, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever, you kind of give away through certain socio-markers your likely behaviour, which is then culturally reproduced within the social dynamic of your community where you live. So you'll kind of model what's likely to occur in a way, even if you did it 10 years ago, In fact, there are some who can work out exactly where you are likely to live, for example, based on the type of discourse you present in a video. It's said that any sociologist, for example, worth his grain of salt, can tell you a lot about your life simply by looking at the way you present. Dr. Peter Berger offset this to students, especially the unkempt ones, I'll give you an example from what I've been recently viewing on the internet, Okay, so you had a juxtaposition in imagery between, say, the older Wednesday Addams or Brett Cooper and black plaited pigtails, and versus, say, a younger Wednesday Addams and, say, a younger girl with plaited hair or something. A bit like, you remember Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family? Yeah, a bit like that. You had that imagery happening, and that was likely to signal to a type of big Wednesday event like a tsunami or something, and this was realised in, say, the character of Macaulay Peterson, one of these social commentary influences in the United States and Canada, in the nature of, say, the manila folder. You know the manila folder, you remember those? They were kind of folder, and they were made of cardboard, and they were kind of a vanilla-y, beigeish sort of colour, weren't they? Yeah, a bit like her hair colour and her presentation. So you had this idea of Manila folder and, say, the city of Manila in the Philippines, yeah? And the idea of a tsunami and the idea of Humpty Dumpty, that sort of thing. Pupul Principessa, La Bella Riga stanza, yeah? Because Puccini used to say these things to them as well, and they get going with that sort of stuff, eh? Okay, so they started by a story recently, within, say, 24 hours, there was this joke going across the internet. They started to commit to military exercises in the Philippines with the Philippine Army, no doubt because they feared the Sunny Queen Boogie Withers joke, whose cock crowed thrice without relief and no eggs that morning nor future mornings. They then even tried to throw chickens upside down, yeah, and cut their throats to get the egg production going again. Because that's the reason why they go like the wind is going now, and they go like that, yeah. And that's why they do that, because they fear the loss of egg production in the chickens, as you would if you ate eggs. Yeah, but it was to no relief and no eggs that morning or future. So they thought, well, they're soothies, yeah? The people who all go to the future stuff, they thought it would be the case. They even then tried to throw, as I said, chickens upside down, cut their throats. It's like, do you know the bowl of rice joke? They sort of flip it over, it becomes a bowl haircut, and this was to enhance the nature of rice production in the Orient. That's why the bowl haircut became so prominent, yeah? That was the upset the order of things. I just had to stop for a moment. The wind picked up a bit too much. Have you seen the bird? It's quite good, isn't it? The bird there. One fillet and I've got protection net. You can make that.
No, I don't need no designer tag to make my man want me. You might think I'm trashy, little too hardcore. In my neck of woods, I'm just a girl next door. And I'm a redneck woman, ain't no high class bro. It's a product of a race, and I said, hey yo, Henry home. I keep my Christmas lights on my front porch on the hill. I know all the words to Mary Song. So here's to all the sisters out there keeping it country. Nothing can be bigger, yeah, but the redneck girls like me. Hey!
If you wish to. Yeah, so they you have this sort of linkage, don't you, between elemental events and a kind of sacrificial rite of passage or something for animals, like you have the slitting of chicken necks waving about, you have the castration of human beings, for example children or adults, in this case Napoleon Bonaparte, you have the Prime Minister not going to NATO. Nobody's quite sure why that is, though I think it's a wise move, given this submarine joke, the AUKUS joke. I don't think you're going to get a submarine, okay, but you might be lucky. They might offer a special on Subway sandwiches. Now that's good, isn't it? That's better. Yeah? I think it is too. It's very expensive. Too expensive. Yeah, so I think I've gone through a few things. Told you the why did the chicken cross the road joke. I've told you the Napoleon Bonaparte joke. I've told you the Albanese surname joke and its relationship to transliteration in other languages, and how there can be a lot of confusion about the meanings that people have about things. But the big answer about it all is you don't need to castrate people for things to happen in your life or not happen. You don't need to do that to other people. It's improper. It's a crime, by the way. I know it's a joke, but it's a crime nowadays. Back in his days, it wasn't. It was a Masonic secret. People would be tricked into castration so they could conduct war. It's one of the big secrets in Masonry, actually. And in Catholicism as well. You can see it in the symbolism, even in the papacy. It's kind of across transliteration within theocracies. Lots of lies, lots of deceitfulness, and don't need to do that these days. We're into science now. We don't do those things. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the joke. It's a funny joke. It's kind of got a terrible irony to it, but it is quite funny. Cheers. Thanks very much. Have a lovely day.